Hi and welcome, and thanks for listening in. I want to introduce you today to Denise Mullins, a new member of our team. She joined us a few months ago and has been a smash hit with our clients so far. And one of the reasons why we're so excited to have Denise is the interesting background and backstory that she has working in journalism, public affairs, reputation management, and the roles she's had within those markets. She's worked from a BD perspective, she's managed bid teams and managed the bid process, and she's done an awful lot, as you can imagine, writing. Denise, what do you find most engaging and interesting about working on bids?
Oh, well, the people. The people are always incredibly smart and inspiring people, which every day working with subject matter experts and people with incredible focus, I learn something every single time from them. I love also the strategic looking at the strategic approach that they take to these things, and actually also doing the work around looking at the landscape into which this is going to be delivered. So learning more about the client end, about the work these guys have done to date, and also within that client sphere, what's happening in that world and what's coming next and what's happening now. So because I've been a daily newspaper journalist for a very long time, before I then crossed over to public relations and now with just purely with proposals, it's every day is a complete joy.
With your background, your journalistic background, public affairs, what sort of skills can you bring across to help when you're producing and writing a proposal?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing, I guess, is having interviewed so many people over so many years, and doing things to push and challenge is sometimes a little bit intimidating when you are speaking to people of this caliber, but it's great to kind of set out the foundation, which is this is the arena for straight talking, because what we need to understand with absolute clarity is what you've got, where you're going, what's different about you. Ask the vanilla questions first, because the answers to those questions, maybe you're doing a third time renewal RFP or something like that, might have changed, and in fact they should have developed. So push, challenge. It's not going to be off the peg, that's not good enough, we have to push for more. And are the clients going to want the answers that you give? What more can we do when we're looking at these kind of questions? Things move on, the world moves on. And I often want to say to people, look, be the client for a whole day. Be that client for the whole day. Whether they're new to you or whether you're kind of going in to renew, just look at everything you're doing with their eyes, and things come out and things you think, well, do you know what, we should do a bit more of this. So it's invaluable.
How would you approach that if you're a journalist and translate that across to proposals?
I think you should set it up properly, the conversation. So if you are being the client for the day, and if you are that procurement agent for that client, what do you want that procurement guy's experience to be? If, for example, the stuff that you're putting forward is long-winded, perhaps there isn't a word count, perhaps it gets very technical or overly technical against the question asked. Just think about that. As a journalist, the way we write, and I've written for the likes of The Guardian, The Telegraph, the Daily Mail, and unfortunately The Sun. So if you are taking something as a Sun intro, it's 20 words maximum. That's very difficult because it has to tell the whole story. Okay. The Daily Mail, 30 words, 25, 30 words. And then you get the Telegraph, the dear old Telegraph, like 45 words. They're absolutely fine with that. But the whole point of the journalistic approach is you have a headline, one tells the whole story. If you cut the rest of the story off and threw it away, it would still tell the story. The intro gives you a little bit more detail, who, where, what, when, and you could throw away the rest of the story. That's because they used to use these things for fillers, or it would make that, and then there's the rest of the story. Now, the skill that we bring is I speak to an SME, we do the interview. The interview goes along, I take copious notes. I will take a look at whatever they've written. And if they've written me 400 words and I know that we need 250, I will edit it to 250. It will not miss anything that they have talked about. It will reference every single thing. What will happen is they'll look at it and they say, well, you haven't put this sentence in. No, I haven't put that sentence in, but I've said what you said. And it's very difficult when you are a detailed person. But the poor procurement guy, if you've got it down to 250 and not 450 for every question, happy days. They're thinking these guys are really, really easy to work with. I get it straight away. I can mark it because it has to be written exactly against what the question is asking for, with nothing else in that, because it will be somewhere else, the bit that you've put in here. So it's a skill. Our writers are fantastic, by the way. You know, all of our writers are fabulous. But yeah, that is probably the best piece of advice, is to just, you know, how can you distill that down and make your SME happy, and actually get everything in there that the procurement guys want without it being overly wordy, because they've got to read multiples of these things. And also when you're writing, I think if you can mirror their language to some extent, but you're thinking about their end client. If you can do that, then that's very powerful as well. When you do that mirroring, a new idea that feels like home already for them, they recognize it as that. So it's, you know, it's worth, I mean, I, as a writer, will go through websites of end clients. I will go through the LinkedIn. I will go through the news reporting, not the news reporting that's always carried on their website, but just from Google, and to see where it sits alongside competitors as well, because that gives you the rounded insight. Where there actually isn't any availability at all of the SME, I will look at what else around the subject has been produced by the client, from whatever source I can get it. And what I will do is write something. Now, that they can hate it, they can love it, they can edit it, but something will happen. So if they can, you know, they're going to say, well, that isn't right and this isn't right. Great, I now know what is or isn't right. But I'll have set that up to say, look, you know, I know you're really busy. So I've done some, it's not exactly vanilla content, but it's some thought starter content for you. Because there are little elements that they can pull out. Because again, if we as a company can make that process easier for them, because this process drives a wrecking ball through the senior people who are most critical to a company. And, you know, you see people that just bags under their eyes, they're not sleeping because they're going home and carrying on. So if we can make it easier. And the other thing is to put that intro that sums up the whole story of your answer, which is very difficult for people who aren't trained writers, but that's what I would do, because it tells the procurement marking person what they're going to see, what this is going to tell them. So you have your question there, and then you have your intro that sums up everything we're going to tell you. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can do that. Yes. And not only can we do that, but we can do this A, B, C, D, which is brand new, that will support that in ways you've never even seen. Now we'll give you the detail. So their mindset is, oh, we're going to hear something that really does tick all the boxes. If you've got them reading with that mindset, it's you know, it's a beautiful thing.
Versus you dive straight into detail, or it doesn't quite flow. Where's this going to go next? What's this? Whereas you've kind of put my mind at ease. They've got it all covered for me right at the start. So at least I feel that kind of that assurance. So yeah, the power of getting that introduction right is critical. That's a really good tip to take away.
Yeah. Well, I use the analogy, the honeymoon is only so long, that honeymoon period. What you do have is experience, but you don't have new. So you need to get new back, because your competitors have got new on their side, but they don't have experience. So let's have both.
Yeah.
So let's look at the USPs that you've got. Let's be the client for the day. Let's think about what they should want and what they need from you, what more you can do. And so then let's extend the honeymoon, and safe in the knowledge that they know that you're in a safe pair, you are a safe pair of hands. And the other thing is, where, for example, on that particular tender, it's a framework. So to say you will be happy to work with your competitors on the framework speaks to being easy to work with again, doesn't it? Not, daggers drawn, but living that statement and saying, sure, if they have a capacity issue, sure, we will step in, which is exactly what these guys did. They stepped in, they bailed them out, and then it was handed back. And make more of that, because I can't see any of the other competitors there doing that.
Yeah.
So amazing client focus.
Denise, I meant to ask you, actually, you've ghostwritten some books, haven't you, for folks before as well?
How does that...
Five. Wow.
5.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the skill sets there that you learn that can apply to proposals? There must be some. What was that like?
Yeah, there are. I mean, in fairness, so I've written books for political figures and business leaders, and trying to get time with them is the biggest challenge, a bit like proposals. But when you are writing for them, they need to be present in it. But what we do is look at what the end game is for the book, what they want to do with the book, what they want people to get out of the book, and then have that as the end goal, end in mind, and then write towards that. But the most important thing for them is to not lose the author's voice. So when you are, on some occasions, people are very different. I've written for somebody whose first language wasn't English as well. So that's quite challenging, because you're keeping their own voice, but keeping the grammar and the But it's an absolute joy working with them. But I think that keeping the author's voice within a proposal, the author being the company, is really important. There are parallels. You're working with people with zero time.
How do you learn what the voice is that you're trying to replicate in the writing that you're doing in those situations?
Because the way this is always busy people, otherwise they'd write it themselves. Okay. Yeah. So you get a kind of little vodka shot time with them, usually about 20 minutes, once every 2 weeks or something like that. And we try and go kind of chapter by chapter, because we storyboard it out. So it's a huge challenge. And I think the tenor of the book, if it's something where the person is very affiliative and is trying to write content which will help other business people, that kind of thing, it's not your mate down the pub, but it isn't the Prime Minister. It is somebody who's saying, this is the art of the possible. You can do it, I can do it, we can all do it. Here's some learnings that are going to benefit you.
So keeping your aim at the end goal is a bit like the win strategy, isn't it? So I can see the analogies there, and then kind of learning the voice of the tone, and that you want to get across, the language, the style. That's a real skill that we need to build into proposals. So if people want to reach out to you, ask you questions, have a virtual coffee chat, or speak to you about a project, how can they get in touch with you? Just drop you a line on LinkedIn or?
Line on LinkedIn, more than happy.
Perfect. Or dm@strategicproposals.com.
That too.
Cool. All right, Denise, thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day.
Okay, you too. Thanks. Bye.